All right, I'll just get my screen. I see that DPI came in soft, and I could actually tell just by looking at my trading view when I got up this morning. I know stocks and Bitcoin's down, but the telltale was that the Dixie is also down and the Euro's up. So that insinuates that CPI came in cool and expectations are starting to turn around to a potential rate cut, which would essentially give people reason to go away from the US dollar if there is a rate cut, because it's going to bring the US dollar more in line with interest rates in the EU. So, given that the EU is the strongest, it's the largest contributor to the Dixie, um, it would suggest that the euro people in the eurozone are likely fleeing the US dollar or planning on leaving the US dollar to go back into euros, and they can earn yield in their native currency as opposed to being in USD. Um, and it's always an interesting thing because a lot of people think when CPI is coming down and stuff like that's going to be bullish for risk assets and they're going to go up. And it's really open to interpretation. Whilst it does suggest that when the CPI comes down more than expected, it does suggest that there may be rate cuts that come in. The reason why the CPI is coming down faster than expected, and the reason why they may look at putting a rate cut in, is because they're trying to counterbalance what's happening in the economy. It suggests that the economy is not as strong as first thought. It is weakening faster than what is expected. And so, therefore, you also bring fear into the market for some investors that are thinking that way, which explains why the SPX is down nearly a full percent, 0.75% today, because that does bring in the fear into the market. I think that this correction for SPX, it may last for a little while, but I think in the large scheme of things, it's going to be short lived, and we will start to see it climb back up. I mean, it's down 1%, but if we look at daily candle, it's literally just retraced the day before's move. Um, it's still well and truly up. So, you're not going to have green every single day. You can expect to have red, but I think the reason why there is red today is probably largely part due to where we're in for a few green days. It hasn't had a large correction for a little while, and you can compound that with the CPI coming in soft, which also suggests that the economy is weakening and softening. So you're getting people that are not wanting to be as risky in the market. Now, I might move into Bitcoin because we did see some movement with Bitcoin, sort of in line with that news that was coming out, um, and it's pretty well followed the path of the SPX in the very immediate short term, essentially for the last sort of 7 hours. You can see here this big candle up, which is right on when the CPI was released, and then it pumped and dumped. And it's pretty well dumped back to the levels that it was trading on before leading into the CPI. So that's leading into the CPI. Bullishness, a lot of buying and longs going on there, although it is on low volume right up until you do get the news release, and then that's the fake out before it sort of dumps back down. So that's sort of fairly in line with what the SPX was doing for the last sort of 12 hours. But looking at BTC specifically, and I might just turn up the brightness on my screen a little bit here. So we're back below this 57.6 level, and back below this resistance line, which is basically this line here. On a 4-hour chart, it looks a bit better because we can actually see where it's popped below, found it as resistance, popped back up. Now we've popped below and we're finding it as resistance again. So for me in the short term, I'm leaning towards this being a very short term retracement, likely to come down and test this 56k level, where I do want to see a bounce. I really don't want to see a fall below, because if we do start seeing a fall below, then we've really got this this trend line that we bounced off twice, but it doesn't really have any other correlations with it. Bottom of the channel. I mean, we could draw some fibs, see if there is any correlations with it, but okay. So we do have a golden pocket down here, should line up for sort of within the next sort of 12 hours, where it could come down and hit. So if we were to use the brush, we get something like that. Not exactly like that, but something like that. I really don't want to see the price fall down below the 50% level. Certainly don't want to see any 4-hour closes below it. And by 50%, I'm talking about the 56,240 level. I mean, if it did come down into here, I'd really want to see it bounce nicely, bounce strong. Don't get 4-hour closes down in this zone, because then it's likely that we are going to test a bit lower, and we want to hold these lows over on the left here, 54k and 53,500 or 53,400. We want to see those hold. If we do start trading below this 56k level and getting subsequent key closes below it, you can chuck these fibs in the bin, in my opinion. What did I just delete? That's better. Yeah, I think we can chuck those fibs in the bin, and we're definitely going to be looking at testing this zone over here. Maybe there's a sweep of those lows down to that 50 to 52k level, which wouldn't be great. No, it won't be great for Bitcoin. What my eyes would probably be more drawn to is what's the dominance doing. If Bitcoin does have a deeper retrace going on, is the dominance going up or is it going down? If it's going up, then we've still got more downside to come. If it sort of spikes up and then comes back down and sort of levels out, or just goes down, then I think it's part of this bottoming pattern, and the bottom is extremely close. And that's got a lot to do with just prepping for wave 5. Once wave 5 starts, we will probably start seeing some closes below this 53.9% level. We had a fake out back here, but if we get back below and can take out this low, that's going to start being quite bullish for alts. Getting back into here. So I've got some key levels that are marked to the upside that we want to see get held. The first one is that 58.8 level. It's been a struggle. We have had some decent weeks through it, but the closing candles have really struggled to get above and hold. We did get above and closed above, but then it just retraced instantly. And then we saw that the second time it rejected. It could not get a closing candle above there. And that's why in the short term, I'm looking at price coming down and starting to test where where the support's going to come back in before we can come back up and have another crack at this 58.8. 60k is an extremely important level to the upside. If we go out to a weekly time frame, I'll go to weekly, not a daily. On the weekly time frame, that's where a lot of supporters come in. We don't have any weekly closes below 60k except for last week. It's the first time that we've got a weekly close. Every other time, we've got a decent bounce. So getting back above that 60k starts bringing us into testing some of these higher levels at 62,800, which there has been some bouncing around on a daily. You can see it's acted as support and resistance at times. On the downtrend, it was acting as resistance. We saw some resistance come in here. We saw some support over here. And even when we go back over to this period, we saw some support coming in at that 62.8 level, 63k. So that would be my first sort of medium time frame target to the upside, where we can then if we start getting up here, and then we have a bit more of a retrace to start putting in a higher low before we start moving on to higher targets. That's how I'm sort of looking at Bitcoin at the moment. I might jump into. I'll check if there's any comments or questions first. Oh, all good. Okay, Hunter, good to see you, mate. We'll jump into NIA because NIA had a bit of a breakout. So we've actually got a few consecutive green days here, which is looking really good. All right. So the first key level was at $4.60. The reason why it was a key level for me is if we go over here, sort of lines up with where we got some support coming in back in these lows. Yeah. There it is. So we got support in the most recent lows, back in the June sell-off. So I thought that was going to come back and potentially bite us in the ass a little bit, which it didn't really. It did act as a little bit of a pivot point, but it wasn't too severe. And we can see like it sliced through pretty okay. It did get rejected initially when it attempted it, but it was a very soft rejection before it pushed through. Then this local 50% level became the resistance. We sold back down, got below the level, acted as resistance over here, and once we popped through, we then, before we went up, we flipped it to support, had a bit of consolidation before we pushed on through. And now this attempt at the 50% level, the local 50% level, has been flipped to support as well, which is good. We're getting a little bit of a rejection at this higher time frame, 50% level at $5. That's probably largely due to the sell-off that we've seen with Bitcoin. But I think if Bitcoin was to pick up again and get to, say, that 58k level, give or take, we'll see NIA pop through this $5 level pretty easily. It's extremely close to the prior 50% level, only 20 cents difference between there. So this is looking good for me. NIA's up 7.5% today, which is pretty strong. Particularly on a day where we've got the SPX is pulling back, Bitcoin's pulling back, ETH's up only 0.5%, give or take, and the rest of the market, a significant portion of the market, is also pulling back as well. XRP's made 2%, but it's still trading in its bear market accumulation zone. BNB's up a small amount, but there is a bit of blood on the streets, if you will. Matic's down 1.5%, but that's another lagger. So for me, NIA is looking good on its USD chart. On its Bitcoin chart, it's looking good. It's making some gains. Really like to see it take out this high here, this immediate high, and then that way we can start producing some higher highs and higher lows on the 4-hour time frame. Get a couple of them under the belt, and that'll start translating into higher highs and higher lows on the daily. If we do get a higher high over here, that will confirm this here as a higher low, which would be good. It means that we're going to be turning bullish for NIA in a sort of medium term, and that's bullish against Bitcoin, which is what we want to see. We want to see those trends flipping with the dominance. It means that it's on the right track. It's going to be hopefully exceeding what the other alts are doing. So for comparison, and just because I'm very aware of where Sweat's at, we can have a look at Sweat. So Sweat produced a lower low over here, and it's just sort of grinding sideways. It's not making massive gains, but it's actually it's also not losing too much at the moment either. But this is a lot less bullish than what the NIA Bitcoin chart looks like, just as a comparison. I might just jump in and have a quick look at Sweat. So Sweat, it continues to struggle. Like it does get some quick moves up. Like out of its low, it pumps pretty nicely, but it failed to get back into the old range and hold itself there. Got heavily rejected out of there. This level 0.0063 was extremely important level. Back over here in the bear market, and then leading into the bull market. So over here, I was acting as support. This is back in May last year, May and into June, before it broke down. Then when it came back up to break up to the upside, acted as resistance, popped through, turns into it's a massive pivot point. Held as support before it took off. So this 0.0063 level was always going to be a little bit difficult, I feel anyway. And it's proving so now. So Sweat's actually got a lot of work to do. Whilst it is in the stronger half of this local 50% level, which actually moves up a little bit now. If we were to zoom out, it is looking pretty weak. There's a lot of overhead resistance. So I am glad that I did exit well over 75% of my initial position before it got down to these lows. Great project, love it, but from an investment only perspective, not so great. But anyway, I don't want to shit can it too much because they can turn things around. Just depends on which levers it is that they would like to pull. Was there anything that you guys wanted me to have a look at specifically? Some comments here. Yeah, sweet. I was actually working on doing some CAS analysis last night, but it's been pretty busy for me. So, but yeah, we can jump into CAS and I'll have a look at TRX. You take. Oh, hang on. Have I gone? I've looked at previous. STX. Yep, we can have a look at STX. I don't want to jump the gun with STX, but we'll have a look at its BTC chart. I have a feeling the BTC chart doesn't actually look too bad. So on a weekly time frame, it's actually not going all right. We've got bear market low around very round numbers, 20 cents. And it got up to about $4. So what's that, about a 20x in gains? Pulled back quite a bit, but it's still sitting about an 8x up from its lows. Mm. It's in a bit of no man's land, but beneath the 50% level. That's something that I'm not too keen on. Because this is like its entire cycle's 50% level. Being below it is weak, but you can expect greater pullbacks on alts than what you do Bitcoin. So you do have to give a bit of an allowance for that. I think it's the fact that it's wicked down sort of below these lows, but it's managed to get back up above that range only just is a good sign. And if we do look at the price structure, when it gets rolling, it does get rolling pretty damn quickly. I would be interested, if I was looking to invest in this, I'd be looking at doing a bit of back testing, seeing where these levels are that it's bounced from. We can actually just do a quick fib. So the 786 level is pretty important for stacks. So based on that, you could suggest that maybe there's a chance it can get back down to the dollar level before it then does bounce off again. But looking at it at the entire market, I would say that it's probably found a low here at this $1.20 level. It's up, what, about 30 something percent up from that low, so that's a fairly significant bounce. So it actually could be a decent buying opportunity, to be honest. But we'll just double check this Bitcoin chart. So this is something that does look pretty nice. I might actually try a parallel channel here. Yeah, so that does look pretty nice. Like I haven't drawn it 100% accurate, but it's pretty close. We've got the top here to the top there, and then I pulled it down to the bottom. And these bottoms here actually line up quite nicely with this channel. So the fact that it's come down and tapped the bottom and has gotten a reaction and bounced off it, that's a pretty good sign for me. It is quite volatile. It is extremely volatile. But I think Stacks has a pretty strong correlation with Bitcoin, because I'm not 100% aware, but I think that their yield rewards are in BTC. I think so. That would be something that should probably be looked at. Are these run ups sort of dead on with when Bitcoin goes for its runs? Is that when Stacks sort of comes to the front and shines in direct relation with Bitcoin? Because that would also suggest then, if that is the case, when Bitcoin does start retracing at the end of this bull cycle, normally you see the alts sort of hang around up the top for a little bit, and you might get a 3-month period after the fact of when Bitcoin stops, where some alts are still popping off and topping. Whereas with Stacks, it would just be something to be aware of, that when Bitcoin starts retracing, it's likely that Stacks has also topped and it's retracing too, because it's going to follow Bitcoin pretty close. But yeah, I'd definitely be doing some analysis on these run ups against Bitcoin, has that been when Bitcoin's also been moving up too? F F's been going all right. For the first time in a long time, I've actually got a bag of it. So it held on this big retrace. It held its 50% level really well, and this isn't even the entire cycle 50% level. This is just from the pullback, last major pullback that it had down to this level over here. It's held it pretty decently, and it also, this 50% level sort of has correlation with this top here where it got rejected before it then broke up. It's holding these lows from April and also in May. So for me, Ethereum is doing really good. It's the leader of the pack for the alts, and for taking market share away from Bitcoin, which is a big driver in pushing the dominance down. So I've got to ignore some of this stuff I've got up there. So for me, yeah, I think Ethereum is holding up pretty decent. It's doing what it should be doing. It's not outperforming by a large stretch. Like if we look at FBTC, like it's certainly not doing anything super great on this chart. It's just ranging at the moment. But the fact that it's not falling away is what I'm more interested in. And if we look at logarithmic chart, so I'll jump out to a weekly. So this trend line is since this top over here is when ETH went ETH 2.0 came out and they moved to proof of stake. Massive high, peaked, marked the top, and has been in a downtrend ever since. And it is still in a downtrend. It hasn't broken out of that downtrend, but it's broken out of that trend line. And at the moment, it looks like it's just doing a bit of a bottoming pattern for me, at least anyway. It's testing the top side of this trend line, and it's flipping it into support. We're also holding that 50% level. This is on the FBTC chart. It's holding the medium time frame 50% level as well, which is from this high over here down to the low of the last few months, and it's holding that really well as well. So provided that it stays above the 50%, stays above this trend line, I think that's going to be extremely bullish for alts. It has been in this long downward period for the best part of 2 years. So for this to start flipping trend is looking likely, and I'm really looking forward to when it does start moving, because when you do zoom out, it does look pretty strong. But when it does start moving, it can get a wriggle on pretty quick, as we saw here, and even through this uptrend. It does get volatile, don't get me wrong, but it moves up relatively quickly, a lot quicker than what this bleed for 2 years has been. This hasn't been that significant to what these runs up have been. So yeah, for me, F is looking good. It's looking strong. And unless there's any other suggestions, I might just jump into CAS quickly. So I was having a bit of a play with this last night before I was jumping into bed, just seeing what's going on with CAS. How's it moving? Because has been going extremely well for a long period of time, and even since I jumped into the market on CAS, it's been going really well. Also, it's one of the few that has been making some gains over the last few months. So I've drawn fibs from and the 50% level from this low in June up to the most recent all-time high just a couple of weeks ago. And I'm on logarithmic still, go regular. You can see it pulled back from that all-time high and snapped the 786 on the head before coming up and now flipping. It's now holding above that range 50% level. It's holding it as support. But interestingly, it's stuck in a bit of a range as well. Because if we then draw a 50% level from the all-time high to that drop to the 786, that comes up here. And now it's bouncing between these 50% levels. So it's in a bit of no man's land at the moment. It's looking for direction. Where it currently sits, you'd have to say that it looks like it's going to break down. But that's fine if it does. If it does break down, we want to see these lows held. This one here is the most critical. This one here is second critical, but it's also the first port of call. As long as we see these lows held, that will be fine in the short term, and we can see, hopefully a bounce up and start taking out these highs again and going on another march. So for me, CAS is still strong. It's still looking good. Would I be getting into it now? Probably not. I think that time that ship has sailed a little bit. But I mean, it still definitely has a lot of upside. If it gets to say around a dollar or $1.50, something like that, there still is plenty of upside. If you put CAS, ADA, XRP, Sweat, pretty much any one of the micro caps that I'm holding in front of me, and said I have to invest in something, I'd pick CAS out of that bunch, and that would be without a stutter. I'd just jump straight into it. I wouldn't have to think twice. But looking at CAS on its own, yeah, I still think it's a good investment. Maybe I'm a little bit biased because I did get in down and around that 10-cent mark, and it's up, quite a bit since then, 60%, give or take. Or where it's trading now, it's 65% up. We'll just take a quick look at XRP just for shits and giggles, eh? Past it, there we go. So XRP is looking. It looks like it's heading back into a bear market already. It looks like that was its bull market, and now it's heading into a bear market. Consistent lower lows. It's still in its accumulation period. I actually think it's fallen out of its. I had a channel running on this for quite some time, a parallel channel, and I reckon that where it's trading now, it's probably fallen out of that channel because it was in sort of like this upward direction. Looking Scheisenhausen, and even the XRP BTC chart probably looks equally as bad. Look, zoomed out, it looks absolutely horrible, but it does down here look like it could potentially, in an accumulation period, this low here failed to break below this low. So maybe there is a little bit of upside, but I don't know. You wouldn't see me touch it with a 10-foot pole. I think my original analysis that I sort of went against is looking more. I wish I held a bit more conviction in it. Did I pin it in here or was it in announcements? Yeah, so I wish I held a bit more conviction in this outlook that I posted back at the very start of May, I think it was. Yeah, May the 3rd. I did go shy away from it. So in this, the crux of it, I don't expect BTC to be pushing to new all-time highs until around August, September. So I'm still thinking along those lines. Um, I don't think necessarily that between now and say September that means that we're going to continue a downtrend. Maybe it suggests that we've found the low and now we're going to start pushing up slowly, grinding up slowly, maybe a bit of sideways, put in another couple of high lows, and then we start to looking to really take off come August, September. That's probably where my thinking is at. But yeah, I wish that I held a bit more conviction in this analysis that I put together because I did put effort into it. I did, think of this with based on facts and yeah, basically took the emotions out of it. But then with the price action that we have seen over the past couple of months and that 56k low that came in May, and then nothing really happened at the start of June. We actually saw a pump up. It really, I suppose, my emotions must have got the better of me, and subconsciously I took conviction away from this analysis and outlook that I wrote down, and it did cause me to maybe make some not irrational decisions, but decisions that had I stuck to this game plan probably would have been different decisions. I'd probably have better entries on near perhaps, and even yeah, just some general decisions that I have made regarding my portfolio would have been different had I stuck to this. Um, so yeah, we're all learning. I'm constantly learning, and I'm not scared to call myself out on something that I've perhaps done wrong or should have done a bit differently. Um, and especially if it's to the benefit of everybody else, they can learn as well. But yeah, to answer your question, I think the change of trend is happening around about now, and we'll start to see confirmation of that. The ultimate confirmation is breaking out to all-time highs. I think that ultimate confirmation will come probably around August, September. Yeah, that's right, Baldrick. It's actually a good quote, and you need to find that balance between the two people. Because if the wiser people that are so full of doubt struggle to make decisions, whereas the fools and fanatics always rush to a decision. So you need to find that balance between the two. Yeah, that's right. That's why and it's definitely a struggle when it's constantly in your face. Particularly when it's your first cycle that you're experiencing. It's extremely hard to stay away from the market. Because don't get me wrong, there's some that have done some crazy returns, but the vast majority are complete and utter scams and rug pulls and are designed to just steal your money. Um, and to block out that noise and not try get involved in it is pretty damn difficult. And it's the same thing when we I don't think we're going to get a full blown alt season like we have in previous years, but we'll get some sort of alt season when that does come. And that alt season does start to flip bearish. You're going to see people that are, especially the guys that have got 500, 600,000 followers, buying the dip. I'm buying this dip. It's going to the moon, buying the dip. And they'll be saying on media that they're on social media that they're buying the dip, the entire bear market. And it fucks up people. Yeah, it's really, really bad. I don't think these guys understand the damage that they do to these humans' lives. A lot of people in the last cycle bear market, people were committing suicide. It's pretty rife, and it maybe wasn't necessarily because they were being told to buy the dip. Although Rand Nuna, or whatever his name is, from Crypto Banter, he was telling everyone that he's going all in on Luna during the crash when it was down to about $10 or $12 or something like that. And it just kept going down. So, I don't know how many people that had an effect on, given that his Crypto Banter has like 800,000 YouTube subscribers. But yeah, it's definitely a psychological game. And I got caught up in a bit of that within that last cycle, which is what led me to sort of bring Down Under Trading around, because I don't want to see that same situation play out for other people that will give a bit of their time to listen to me. I want to try to keep people away from going down that same path. That's exactly right, Hunter. There's not many winners that are out there, and the ones that you do hear about, it's typically after the fact. It's too late, and when you are hearing about it, it's an interesting game. You start hearing about these coins that are doing 1,000x and whatnot after the fact by influencers, and those influencers are tied to the VCs that have got IPO offerings or private offerings on these tokens to get some real hype into that coin when it's at its highs. So they've got the VCs have exit liquidity. So to even get into some of those winners can be quite difficult as well. That's Thanks, Baldrick. I'm glad that um, you found benefit. You found benefit in this. Oh, look, I'm a degen sometimes as well. I think it's in our nature to you got to have a little bit of fun. I don't. I think in life we can't always just be serious, straight down the line and narrow. Every now and again we have to have a little bit of fun. Just let the hair down a little bit. Get that dopamine fix. Um, but the big thing is just not to let that dopamine fix take over. But anyway, all right, guys. I think I need to wrap it up there. Probably went a little bit longer than what I was hoping, but that's all good. I'm happy to talk with you guys, and so I like to have some of these deeper conversations as well. Um, it's all good. It's all good. No stress at all. Actually, something a bit personal, but I'll find out the sex of my child today, so pretty excited about that. We were meant to find out weeks ago, but there was the stuff up with the doctors and the blood test and Alistair. Oh, I don't know if my wife likes that name. I've been going with Paddy, because if it's a girl, it's Patricia, but we call her Paddy, and if it's a boy, it's Patrick. Um, but yeah, that's really just to give my mother-in-law the shits, because she hates the name Patrick. So I'll just stir her up a bit. Not sure. Find out today in probably around 5 hours. So, uh, all right, guys, I'm gonna leave you there, but have a great evening, and I'll speak to you probably throughout the day.